The story begins on a bright, serene summer's morning, with Sang-woo and his mother boarding a bus bound for the countryside. As they travel, it quickly becomes clear that Sang-woo, a 7-year-old city boy, is annoyed by the unsophisticated rural passengers who surround him on the bus. His urban upbringing has made him disdainful of their simplicity, and he rolls his eyes at their humble clothes and accents. He can't understand how anyone could live in such a place, far from the conveniences and excitement of the city. His mother, trying to remain calm, explains to him that they are going to live with his 78-year-old grandmother, who lives in a small, quiet village. The grandmother, although mute, is not deaf, and Sang-woo's mother hopes the time in the countryside will give her a chance to find a new job after the failure of her store business in Seoul and the painful abandonment by her husband. Though she is filled with her own worries, she is hopeful that the stay will be short, and she reassures Sang-woo that they won't be staying in the countryside for long. Eventually, the bus reaches its destination. When they arrive at the grandmother's house, Sang-woo is deeply disappointed. The house is humble and unkempt, far from the comforts of his urban life. There is no electricity, no running water, and the basic needs he is accustomed to are not available here. His irritation grows, and he shifts uncomfortably as his mother speaks to the grandmother. She promises it won't be for long, and that she will be back soon. But despite her kind words, Sang-woo's resentment grows as she leaves, catching the next bus out of the village. He is now completely alone with his grandmother. The next morning, Sang-woo refuses to acknowledge his grandmother, continuing to stay inside the house, playing with his junk food and toys, things that seem alien in this rural setting. Meanwhile, the grandmother starts her daily routine. She wakes early, the sounds of the morning birds the only noise in the quiet house. She gathers water from the river, her frail body moving with a practiced, almost meditative precision. Though she is mute, she is far from helpless, tending to her responsibilities with quiet determination. After fetching water, she washes her clothes by the river, the gentle flow of the water providing a sense of peace in a life filled with hardships. The grandmother's strength is evident in her actions, though it is unnoticed by Sang-woo, who remains trapped in his own world of disdain and bitterness. The grandmother's life is one of simplicity and routine. She doesn't have much, but what she has, she treasures and uses wisely. Her neighbors, two very different individuals, help fill the quiet of her life. One is a hard-working country boy who seems to always be in motion, tending to the land, caring for animals, and doing various chores. Though he is rough around the edges, there is a kindness in his eyes. From the start, he makes an effort to befriend Sang-woo. Then there is the young girl, a vibrant soul who lives nearby. She is about Sang-woo's age, and he begins to develop feelings for her. However, his feelings are unrequited, as she seems far more interested in the country boy. This stirs a new layer of frustration in Sang-woo, who, for the first time, experiences the pangs of jealousy and unreciprocated affection. As time goes on, Sang-woo's Game Boy, the symbol of his connection to the outside world and his comfort zone, runs out of batteries. Unwilling to give up on his favorite distraction, he demands money from his grandmother for replacements. However, the grandmother is poor and cannot afford such luxuries. She has no money to spare. And when Sang-woo hears this, he becomes frustrated. Instead of understanding, he teases her, showing no empathy for the struggles she faces in her own life. His disdain grows, and in an outburst of frustration, he takes her old shoes and throws them away. Not stopping there, he breaks one of her chamber pots and even draws insulting graffiti on her house walls. His actions are cruel, meant to provoke a response, but the grandmother, though deeply hurt, remains silent, not retaliating. When this tactic doesn't work, Sang-woo takes things further, resorting to stealing. He takes her ornamental hairpin, a cherished item, and heads off to find a shop where he can trade it for batteries. After some time, he finds a place that might be able to help, but when he attempts to exchange the hairpin, the shopkeeper, who happens to be one of his grandmother's friends, recognizes the item and strikes him on the head. The man is angry, scolding him for his behavior and sending him home. As Sang-woo returns, the weight of what he has done begins to settle on him, but it's clear that he still has a lot to learn. One day, Sang-woo decides he wants something more familiar from his city life: Kentucky Fried Chicken. The grandmother, confused by his request, only hears chicken. Not knowing how to satisfy his exact wish, she takes it upon herself to go to the market.
빨리 갔다 와.
But instead of buying fried chicken, she purchases a live chicken. In the pouring rain, she trudges home, determined to fulfill his request, no matter what. When she returns and prepares the boiled chicken, Sang-woo is furious. It is not the fried chicken he had imagined, and in a fit of anger, he throws the food away without even considering the effort his grandmother put into preparing it. But later that night, hunger overtakes his pride, and he secretly eats the chicken, realizing that despite the initial bitterness, it was actually quite delicious. The next morning, however, things take a turn. The grandmother becomes ill, perhaps from the cold or exhaustion from the long walk in the rain. Sang-woo, feeling the weight of his previous actions, steps up in a way he never has before. For the first time, he cares for her, serving her the leftover chicken and trying his best to comfort her. This is a moment of growth for Sang-woo. As he tends to his sick grandmother, he begins to see her not just as an inconvenience or a burden, but as someone who, despite her own hardships, continues to care for him unconditionally. Despite the grandmother's fragile health as she battles osteoporosis and the weight of old age, her life is simple, yet full of quiet dignity. Her needs are few, and the only thing she appears to rely on Sang-woo for is the threading of her sewing needles, something that highlights both her independence and her need for connection. She spends her days stitching shoes, working tirelessly to earn a modest income. One of her most touching relationships is with a friend whom she meets regularly. Their conversations are often brief but meaningful, and the friend's final words, "Come by again before one of us dies," leave a poignant reminder of the inevitable passage of time. Sang-woo, on the other hand, remains disconnected, angry and overwhelmed by the unfamiliar environment. He is frustrated by his circumstances and rejects his grandmother's attempts to please him. Her unconditional love seems to fall on deaf ears, and at first, he is too absorbed in his own world to appreciate her sacrifices. However, through time and consistent care, her love slowly touches his heart. One significant moment of change happens when Sang-woo gets up early one morning and accompanies his grandmother to the market. He watches as she tirelessly tries to persuade passers-by to purchase her vegetables, witnessing firsthand the struggles of her daily life. Her persistence and determination reveal just how much she sacrifices to survive. At the end of the long day, she takes Sang-woo to a shop and buys him the noodles and new shoes he had been longing for. This is a small but significant gesture of love, and it marks a turning point in their relationship. As they are about to board the bus home, Sang-woo, still holding on to some of his previous emotional distance, asks his grandmother to buy him a choco pie, a small treat that he desires. She goes to the shop run by her elderly friend, who, despite his own physical limitations due to a bad knee, gives her several pies, refusing any money in exchange. Instead, the grandmother offers him a melon, an exchange that symbolizes the deep unspoken bond between the two old friends. When the grandmother returns to the bus with the treats, Sang-woo, now a bit embarrassed by his feelings, says he wants to ride alone, as the girl he likes is also on board. The grandmother, always wanting to please him, tries to insist that he take the rest of the produce with him, but he refuses. Sang-woo, still very much caught up in the complexities of growing up, does not understand the full significance of her gesture. As the bus departs, Sang-woo watches her walk away, wondering why it is taking her so long to return. He soon realizes that she has walked back from town, carrying all her produce, a symbol of her sacrifice and unspoken love. This realization is a pivotal moment for Sang-woo. For the first time, he sees his grandmother's efforts in full light. Her actions, selfless and loving, begin to pierce through his anger and frustration, making him feel a deep sense of regret and longing. In the final stages of their time together, Sang-woo begins to open up to the depth of his love for his grandmother. He makes simple greeting cards for her, knowing that she cannot read or write, but hoping that through these cards, she can feel the words of love that he struggles to express. Finally, Sang-woo's mother returns, and it is time for him to leave. As they board the bus for Seoul, the emotional climax of the film occurs. Sang-woo leans out of the back window, waving a tearful goodbye to his grandmother. In this moment, all the love, regret, and connection he has felt toward her are laid bare. The film ends with the grandmother, now alone in her thatched roof house, continuing her quiet life. But this time, she is no longer entirely alone, for Sang-woo's love has been immortalized in the letters he made for her, a symbol of the love they shared and the deep connection that has blossomed between them despite the distance of their worlds.